Happy Saturday morning, everyone. Obviously, I'm not in my office. I'm at my dad's house. So we're going to pray that his brand new Wi-Fi works. Trying to do this new thing where I actually do some things and visit my family members during football season. All jokes aside, we've got a star-studded lineup for you guys today. We've got Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook. We've got Yanni the Greek coming from the other side of the counter to give you guys a look behind that computer screen for some gold. We've got Anthony coming in to talk tonight's UFC fights. We've got Adam Trigger coming in to talk college basketball, and finishing it up, Marco D'Angelo, number one currently on the leaderboard in college football on WagerTalk.com. So he's going to come in and take all your football questions. So if you guys have a question, drop it in your prospective chat, whether that's Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I don't care. We got the producers manning all those so we can get your questions answered because, well, let's be real. Your participation is mandatory. We have 58 minutes until kickoff. We will go right up until kickoff taking your questions if you have them. If not, I'm getting the hell out of here because I got college football bets to get in and, of course, college football to watch today. So let's bring in Art from the Westgate Superbook live from John Murray's office like he does every single Saturday morning. Art Dice 21 over on X if you guys are not already following him. He joins us every single week here on Last Call, as well as Wager Talk today with Teddy and the Prez. Art, good morning.
Good morning. What a lineup today. Wow, I feel like privileged to be leading this lineup off. I love it.
I love it too. We appreciate you getting up bright and early every single Saturday morning to give us a look behind the counter at the Westgate. I want to know big needs. I want to know big bets. I want to know sharp action. Just give it to me this morning. I'm going to give everybody about 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the question. So if you guys have a question for Art, get it in now and we'll get it at the end of his segment. Art, let's start off with the noon Eastern games.
Yeah, let's just start there. Arkansas, sharp money came in on them all week, plus 13.5, plus 13. Texas got to as low as 12. They've seen some Texas money come back in. Texas will still be a need for us. Western Kentucky is going to be a need for us. Louisiana Tech has taken money at 13.5, 13, 12.5, all the way down to 11. Western Kentucky in our top 5 or 6 needs of the day. Really sharp money on the under, too, 54.5, 52.5. A guy who we really respect, who bets college football, and he only bets totals, took that under, so a 2-point move there. Tulane and Navy's been interesting. Real split action on that. They lay 7, they take 7.5, so that's been bouncing around. Clemson and Pitt, a lot of Clemson money. Obviously, the Pitt quarterback is out, so Clemson went from 11 all the way to 13.5. It's come back to 13, but we will need Pitt in the game. Auburn was sharp money, minus 24, got all the way to 25. And then Utah early in the week took sharp money at 12 because the Sharps are just going to continue to go against Colorado. But now it looks like Utah is starting like a 4th or 5th string quarterback. So now that game's ballooned all the way back up to Colorado minus 13.5. So real interesting on that. And you saw some Sharps bail on the game and just try to get out.
Yeah, I kind of looked at that early as well. It's tough when Cam Rising is finally officially out, and now they're basically all bet out of a bowl game, getting their hearts ripped out by BYU last week. It makes it difficult to want to back the Utes there. All right, Art, let's move on to the 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific slate. Any real definitive plays that you're like, hey, you guys got to get on this? We agree with the sharp group, or hey, we're going to get killed on this game if X team wins?
Our number one need of the day is Kennesaw State. They have laid Sam Houston every single which way. Earlier in the week, 14, 16, 17, 18.5. We hit 20 this morning. Our number one need is Kennesaw State. So go figure. That just sometimes happens.
Go figure. Kennesaw State. I can't even name a player on that team.
No. And they fired their coach.
For my buddies who can't always tune into the show, and I'm like number one, and I'm like Kennesaw State. Yes, can't name a single player on that team. Thanks, Art.
I can't either. Trust me. And I mean, listen, they fired their coach, and there's a lot of that. And it's funny. Early in the season, Sharps were on Sam Houston State. They really liked them early in the season, so I think this is just a spot where it's completely whacked out, and there's probably people who have power ratings with numbers of, well over 3 touchdowns. So to get them in the 14 to 19 range, there were people who didn't mind laying even bad numbers after the opener of 14. So that was one. We took some Michigan State money. We took a little bit of Temple money early in the week. SMU's gone all the way from 17.5 all the way to 19. Obviously, BC's got some quarterback issues as well. Charlotte was sharp at +3. We're going to need South Florida in that game. We took sharp money on Air Force at +3.5. And then, the South Carolina-Missouri game, obviously that was bouncing back and forth all week because of Cook, the quarterback for Missouri, but it looks like he's going to play. So that number shot back up early in the week. If you would have asked me, I would have said we would have really needed Missouri. But now it's kind of evened itself out.
Okay. Interesting. That was a game that I could not get to the window on. Jojo Collins wants to know, Art, do we like ODU versus James Madison? I can tell you guys, Joe Ranieri gave out ODU +3 as his fade Joe Public of the week. Is everybody on JMU here, Art?
There is a lot of that. And I think, we don't get a lot of, I know it's a big talking point, pros versus Joes, and you see a lot of that. And listen, I fall victim to it as well because obviously I see it. But I think that's a game where it is a pros versus Joes type of thing. And, it's such a lower tier game, though. We don't see a ton of action on it. So I don't want to sit here and pound the table and say we need one side or the other.
Okay, let's get into some of these later games. Hi, Art. Auburn at home is favored by 24.5 over Louisiana Monroe. Should 3-6 Auburn be favored by double digits? You mentioned that you guys saw some sharp money here.
Yeah, we did. And we saw sharp money at 24 all the way up to 25 for us. And I get it. Sometimes people look at the record and they say, well, how can that be? But you also got to remember who they're playing. Auburn is an SEC team. They do have SEC talent. So that's why you see some of our sharp players want to lay 24. They're not scared to do that with a team like Auburn.
All right, let's get into some of these bigger games for the slate, most notably Tennessee, Georgia. Now, early in the week, there was rumors whether Nico was going to be playing. We know Etienne is out for the Bulldogs. It looks like Nico's in. Has that changed the line in any way there at the Westgate? I mean, I would think so, but maybe you guys also just assumed he was going to give it a go. Talk to me about that game in a little bit more in depth.
That's the point that you hit on, Kelly. We assumed that the quarterback would go. We felt Nico would play. This is too big of a game for him not to give it a go. Now, listen, things can happen, early in the day today or right up to game time. Something could have happened, but we felt Nico would go. And it's been nothing but Tennessee money, 10.5, 10. We're now down to 8.5 on Georgia. So it's interesting to see Georgia go all the way low on that. We'll need Georgia in the game. And that's, I don't want to say that's a big surprise, but I think a lot of people have been down on Georgia and they just see what has transpired. They did not look good last week. And to me, they're still one of the best teams in the country, but I think people felt it was too much for them to lay. The one thing I will add about this game, a lot of sharp money, respected money on the under. 47.5, we're at 46. Low total, but Tennessee doesn't give up any points. And we know Georgia plays really good defense. So for us, the most sharp side in the game is the under.
I'll say it. I'm surprised that the sharp side's Georgia, or at least that's going to be one of your bigger needs. I do like the under as well, so glad to hear that. Okay, let's go into a couple of the games here later on. Drew Furstenberger wants to know, should the Cyclones be laying a number like this given their slide? This is not a game I've talked about. Cyclones off that loss to KU. I will take that cash last week all day long. Talk to me about this Iowa State team, and do they bounce back this week?
Yeah, it feels like a bounce back spot for them, but they've been pretty well power rated all year, and it feels like sharp guys have liked Iowa State. And sometimes they're not going to worry about what they saw last week. They're going to trust their numbers. We're going to trust our numbers. And yeah, Iowa State should be that type of favorite.
All right, let's move along to a couple of the games that I bet that nobody else cares about. I want to talk about Wake Forest, North Carolina. That's a team that I thought shouldn't be laying the lumber like they were. So I took the 11 with Wake. Anything sharp in either one of those sides there?
Oh, sharp money on Wake Forest, no doubt about it. I mean, it went down to 10. So Wake Forest is the preferred side of the sharps. And honestly, no one from the public wants to come in and lay UNC.
Yeah, and I don't want to either. That's why I took Wake. Let's see. Michael Fellows wants to know which game has the most ticket and money differential. So it is only 11-11 here on the East Coast. Obviously, things are subject to change there at the Westgate Superbook. But as it stands this morning, Art, who is the most lopsided game?
I would say now, obviously, I already mentioned the Kennesaw State. Right behind Kennesaw State as a need, we desperately need Syracuse. They laid 8, they laid 9, they laid 9.5, all the way up to 10. Cal is a huge, it is a lot of money on Cal, and then even the public came in late and started taking Cal on money line parlays. So obviously we need Syracuse to cover, but if we could get Syracuse to ever outright win against Cal, that would be huge.
Syracuse might be worth a line sprinkle look. I will take care of that after we get done with Art. Art, a couple more minutes. If you guys have a question with him, let's hear it now or forever hold your peace. Let's talk about a couple other games tonight. There we are. M. Zizza wants to know, what about the Ducks game? I am on the Badgers plus 14. I missed the 14.5 that was there for a little bit, but I do think 2 touchdowns, night game, off a bye. I mean, all of these things just line up to be the perfect KIV underdog spot. Art, am I crazy? Can this Badgers defense help get this offense over the hump to at least cover the 2 touchdowns?
No, and Kelly, I think when you're talking 14.5 and you even got 14, I think that's the right side. I think now that it's at 12.5, obviously you want to stay away from Wisconsin. But, Oregon's probably in a mode right now, especially when they go on the road, where they just want to win the game 7 to 10 points and get out of town and start preparing for the playoffs, because obviously that's a tough place to go in a night game and play in Madison. And we obviously saw money come in on Wisconsin. So we'll need actually Oregon to cover that game for us. It's not a big need, but it is a need. Oregon will be the side that we'll be rooting for.
Ooh, very interesting. Okay, let's get you out of here. Last question, Nebraska, USC. This one was awesome because I have Nebraska plus 9 in pocket, all the way down to 7 there at the Westgate Superbook. Are you starting to see some USC money come in? One of the unique things that I always appreciate about the inside at the Westgate Superbook is because of the close proximity to California, you do get a lot of that California money. They want to back their teams. What are we seeing here on Saturday morning?
They do. You're right. It hasn't come yet, but I'm with you, Kelly. Good for you getting 9. I grabbed 8 with Nebraska, and I just think that's the right side. I'm not in love with this USC team. Not that I'm in love with Nebraska. I don't think Nebraska is great, but I think when you can get over a touchdown, it just feels like a game that Nebraska can obviously win. I think USC eventually will get put in a lot of money line parlays. They don't tease college football enough, to make it, USC to 1.5. That won't happen. But the USC money has not come yet, so be interesting to see if that does happen.
All right, last call for questions for Art. Make sure you guys are following Art at ArtDice21 there on X. Art, what is your Instagram? I just started following you back and I don't remember what it is.
Oh, it's I believe no, it's not at ArtDice21. I think it's like Sharpside Vegas to see something like that. It's something silly. Trust me.
And he wonders why I couldn't follow it back because I didn't know it was him.
Kelly, I promise you, it's something real stupid. I promise.
I love it. You guys can catch Art every single Saturday morning here on WagerTalk's Last Call. You guys can also go say hi to him at the Superbook and ask for free drink tickets. All jokes aside, that is my favorite thing to do to John Murray whenever I'm there. We're going to bring in Yanni the Greek. He's going to touch on some of that gold. He joins us every single Wednesday on Bet On It, College Football Edition, gives us the early gold. Then here on Saturday, right before kickoff, we got about 45 minutes, BR. You tell me whether it's been solidified, whether they came back on the other side. What are we seeing this morning? As always, I'm going to let the dog off the leash, and then I'll let you give me one UFC before we flow into Kyle Anthony. I always appreciate when you guys are on the same side.
Thank you, Kel. Thank you. Yeah, huge day of action coming off that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson night where it was kind of like bettors that don't even bet fights were betting that fight. It was just felt like almost like a Super Bowl vibe where I was getting texts from people I don't get texts from. You know what I mean? Like my sister texted me what I think of the fight. She'll do it on the Super Bowl. That's it. It was like one of those things. So not to go off topic, but it's just wild how, and now I think people are chasing. That's what I can tell you. They woke up this morning chasing.
It's crazy because even my neighbor who watches no sports is like, who are you betting in the fight? I'm like, well, I just don't really think there's any value in it. I was like, I got a good buddy who likes to bet the distance. I was like, maybe I'll join him there. And they're like, what? This is such a huge fight. And I'm like, maybe on, a recreational scale. But like, to me, I was happy that Netflix wouldn't work. So I got to go to bed early.
Good girl. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. It was taking so long. That production was so long, and it was awful. But we got college football today. We got UFC today. We got college basketball. I just bet 21 college basketball plays for two of the groups that I moved for. So don't overlook all the other markets. But let's talk college football really quick. I'll go over those theme plays that I confirmed as legit, and I'll tell you where there was any kind of resistance. Let's start off with Old Dominion. None bigger, because they're betting Old Dominion +3 and Old Dominion money line. But I can tell you, Old Dominion's a huge risk, at least from the books that I deal with, local bookmakers, accounts that I could look into the back end where they have, 99.9% recreational players, and any of the sharp accounts are labeled as a bot. So I could see who's betting this. And I can tell you, it's not just sharp money that took Old Dominion. The public's on Old Dominion as well. Be careful when you see that. Arkansas, +2 touchdowns, very sharp. Tulane, -6.5 and 7. I heard Art say there's some resistance on the Navy side. That was good information he shared. We saw that on Clemson. Because the guys I work with laid Clemson, -10, -10.5. But one of the movers that I share stuff with sent me, his guys were looking for Pittsburgh +13.5. They were looking for it. He said they even took some 13s. So there's a little disagreement depending on where the number is. Hawaii, Utah State, over 60, over 61. Looks like they're getting out ahead of the public there. Colorado, heavy one-sided action on Colorado at -9, at -10, at -11. Haven't seen buyback there. Unlike Rutgers, Maryland, huge steam on the over, 51.5, 52. But when it gets to 55, that's when you see some resistance. Remember, these groups are not working with each other. It's a zero-sum game, and they're betting numbers, not teams. So when a line moves significantly, 3-4 points, and they don't think it's warranted, you will see another group disagree and come in on the other side. A few more plays that I can share for sure. La Tech, 341. La Tech, +14, 13, 12.5. And the under there, it got dummied up. I love when I see totals get dummied up, because it got dummied up at 51, up. And then they came in, once the limits got bigger, under 53.5, under 53. Those usually do the best when they're setting up a total. La Tech, Western Kentucky, under. 358, Auburn, -24. Public and Sharps are on it. 338, Charlotte at a key number of 3. 359, South Alabama, +8.5, +7.5. They stopped at the key number of +7. Tennessee, Georgia, under, and seeing no resistance. Usually, when you start betting under at 50, and you now seeing around that 46 range, you're usually going to see money come back, even from the group that went under 50, at least for some of the risk. That has not happened. So Tennessee, Georgia, under. If you got 48 or better in your pocket, you did your job. Sam Houston. Talk about Sam Houston. They're betting that game like they have tomorrow's newspaper. You laying 13.5, that wasn't enough, because the last bet I placed was at -17. I can't even release this to subscribers, because I feel like I'm taking the worst of it at that point. Now, obviously, I take a percentage of the account, so I want these guys to win. But when I see stuff like that, it even scares me. And finally, I have to mention Cal. Here's why. We've seen no resistance at a key number of 10. That's a telling sign. Pay attention to that. When it opens at a key number of 7, it gets bet up to 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, gets to 10, and you still see no take back at 10. It's a telling sign it's a favorite or pass situation, but you probably lost most of the value. It's probably been extracted, and it's now the public pushing it up. Finally, I always like to tell you, as far as the back ends from real regular bookmakers, not the on-screen ones, the biggest risks so far, looking in their back end, the 4 teams. It's Colorado, it's Florida, it's Arkansas, and it's Old Dominion. No surprise, a handful of them are sharp. Kind of like in college basketball right now. It's sharps against the books. In college football, it's the same, except for the marquee games. Like when you're talking about teams like Old Dominion, teams like Western Kentucky, teams like La Tech, it's usually the sharps versus the books. Not much public money will help them with that risk. And that's why these lines sometimes get away from you, and you're just better off passing, because just too much of the value has been extracted by that point. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit, navigate this college football board. And hope you do some damage tonight. Don't forget, last call tomorrow. We went 3-0 on those 2.0 teasers last week. Going to fire some more and share the method also tomorrow. Last call NFL. But don't forget, head on over to WagerTalk.com. I got a 5% in UFC, 13-3 in 2024, number one in profit in MMA. I hit another 4%, 4% yesterday. I hit Jake Paul, and I hit what was it? Cage Warriors, I believe, another MMA bet. So, yeah, you want to head over, get my UFC 309, and then I'm going to make it 8-1-1 on NFL 5% with tomorrow's. It's already in the package, so hope you do some damage. Any questions? Ready to fire away? Otherwise, I love you, Kel. Hope you do damage today.
That's the plan, VR. Need to do some damage every single Saturday. Real quick before we let you guys have a question for VR, we're going to take it. So the producer will pop it up on the screen. Claire Albano, what is your thoughts about Tennessee money line? VR, are you guys seeing all Georgia on your back ends or any sharp money on Tennessee whatsoever? I mean, we kind of knew Nico was going to play. At least it was built into the line, but I haven't seen anybody that I really respect on the Vols here.
No, two-way action, Kel. Pretty good two-way action, believe it or not. Even looking at the betting public and the screen in the back, the books, two-way action. They're getting good two-way action. So it's one of those, do you want to be a bookmaker? You don't want to be a bettor. Let them lay the 11, the 10. The thing that does stick out the most on that game is the under. I'm telling you, 100% of the tickets written are on the under. I'm right now at a book that I'm looking at that has about 360 players, and he's got about 23 total bets on that, and all 23 are on the under. All 23 of those total bets are on the under in that game. So they're really going to need the over there. But again, it's sharp money and public money on the same side. That's usually what's going to happen.
All right. Are you doing the steam room at all today or just tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Sunday for NFL to go through each one because it's UFC today, and I really get a lot of the information as we head into the card, so just don't want to tie myself up because of the college football and college basketball, so it's just too busy to do that at the same time. But tomorrow we'll be there.
Any
right
college basketball that you have up for sale at WagerTalk today is included in your all access package?
It's there for subscribers, Kelly, only. I haven't put a package up, so I'm going to share 3 plays that I gave out already. 613 over 135.5, LaSalle Drexel, 609 Tulsa on the money line, and 306 530 Vandy minus 25. Like I said, I bet 22 college basketball games. I've only releasing the ones that I agree with and seeing multiple accounts. Those are 3 that I've seen in multiple accounts early in the season. That's what I like to do. So far, so good. So that's what sticks out. And you had asked about UFC real quick. I'll give you a total in the co-main event. Go under 1.5. Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, under 1.5. They will not see 7.5 minutes there. You could lay up the minus 150, but you won't have to. I like the under 1.5 in the co-main event.
That's the under 1.5 rounds for novice UFC bettors like myself, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Under 1.5. Yep. So that's halfway through the second round.
I wanted to double check that because I write such chicken scratch. I do not have beautiful penmanship like Art does. If you guys have ever seen this man's notes, they are immaculate. At Greek _ Gambler on Instagram and X at Greek _ Gambler 7 on TikTok. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow. WT.buzz/VR. He's going to be back with NFL for us tomorrow morning, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. VR, we will see you then. Kyle Anthony, we're going to bring in to talk some more UFC. Adam Trigger right behind him for college basketball. And finishing last will be Marco D'Angelo talking all of the college football action. So if you guys have a UFC question, a college basketball question, or a college football question, drop it in the chat because your participation is why we're here. Make sure while you're dropping comments in the chat, either on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, make sure that you guys are absolutely smashing that like button and, of course, subscribing. Kyle Anthony, welcome in to the show. He asked, he said, Cal, we got a huge UFC card. You're knee deep in college basketball, NBA, college football, NFL. Like, give me some love here. So I said, okay. So Kyle Anthony, you have the floor. Let's talk some UFC.
All right, so I guess we should jump into probably the main event, and this one here, the line is absolutely wide here. We have a big minus 700 favorite here for John Jones on the comeback. You've got Stipe; he's about plus 475, and This line's wide probably for all the right reasons here. You've got Jon Jones, who is going to be really covering Stipe, I think, anywhere this fight goes. I think he's going to be able to look for the takedowns, going to be able to outstrike him. But really the path of least resistance, I think, is going to be utilizing that wrestling, getting the takedowns, getting the ground and pound, searching for that submission finish. And when you look at it, just recently in his last fight against Cyril Gane is a rangy kickboxer, and Jon Jones wanted nothing to do with it. In the first 2 minutes, he secured 2 takedowns and got the submission finish. And I do think that that's kind of where this goes here. I think that he's going to push for the takedowns. He's going to push for the wrestling. And Stipe on the other side here, slow, plodding footwork. I think he's going to be there to be hit. I think he's going to be there to be taken down. The leg kicks will be there. And really the only chance that Stipe has is going to be a puncher's chance, landing some big bomb. These are big boys here. They throw hard. But I do think that the 4-inch reach advantage for Jones will be good, the footwork. But the biggest reason why this line is absurdly wide is because of really Stipe's lack of inactivity. The last time that he even stepped in a cage was back in 2021. That was about 3.5 years ago against Francis Ngannou, and he was knocked out in the second round. So not really the best performance. The last time he even won a fight was back in 2020 against Daniel Cormier, and Daniel Cormier has been in the broadcast booth for years. You add in ring rust, he's 42 years old. I don't think this fight goes very far here, so I think Jon Jones has a lot against him where it comes to the Tom Aspinall situation, another interim champion. Everybody wants him to fight him. He's not doing it. I think he has to put a stamp on this. So getting off the minus 700 number inside the first 3 rounds for Jon Jones is minus 145. And I think that's a pretty strong number here. I don't think this is going to, I don't think he's going to pitter patter shots for 25 minutes. I think he's going for the takedowns. Stipe really looks washed at this point. I think that that's where you got to go. So inside the first 3 rounds, minus 145, I think is the spot.
All right, 71 units this last couple of years in MMA. Number 1 return on investment in all sports in 2024, 12-1 in his 5% plays. Kyle Anthony, tell me about the 5% play you have up at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, so today we have we're 12-1 on 5% plays this year, and really feeling good about this spot that we have right now. Also, as you said, 71 units in the bag, and got 4 plays right now. About to add and load a 5th play here for this Saturday. Very excited about it, and I'll be at the event, so I will be there watching these bets cash live, and very excited to be there tonight.
I love that. Ticket 15 gets you $15 off that package today, that 5% package that Kyle has up. Ticket 15. All right, Kyle, let's go into the next one. I love how I can never pronounce these people's names. Marcin Tybura versus Gianni Denez. Let's hear it.
That was fairly good. That was really good. So you got Marcin Tybura here. He's about minus 135. The comeback here, you've got Gianni Denez, wherever he is, around the plus 115, roughly around there. And the thing about Janice is that, you look at this guy, he is a Brazilian kickboxer, undefeated, coming over from Glory Kickboxing. Now, as soon as people start to hear Glory Kickboxing, they start to think about Alex Pereira. They start to think about Israel Adesanya. Those are the guys that came over, transitioned, had obviously a very successful career. And going back and kind of watching Denise's fights, I just don't really see it. He's really touted as this high-level kickboxer, and I just don't see it. I think that his striking is okay. I think he's got some good leg kicks and some low kicks. I think he can work those in here against an aging, Tybura in this spot. But one of the biggest issues for him here is really going to be his takedown defense. So it just doesn't really have it. And when you go back and you watch some of his fights here, his debut fight against Austin Lane, who is not good, was able to go in the first round, secure a takedown, and bank the entire round on top position. Now, Austin Lane did Austin Lane things. He gets tired. He basically gassed in the second round, got knocked out. But even this most recent fight for Denise against Carl Williams. Carl Williams is a wrestler who, conspiracy theories or not, he said that he was told not to wrestle Denise, and he did in the third round. But the first 2 rounds, he landed some decent shots. And then in the third, he said, I'm going for the wrestling. He secured 2 takedowns, 3 minutes of control time. So if Tybura does, goes the path of least resistance and pushes forward and looks for those takedowns, I think this is what he does. This fits right into his wheelhouse. He likes to smother you up against the fence, cage push, wear on you. And that's really kind of, I think, how this goes here is that Denise, sure, maybe early it could be competitive, but I think as this fight goes on, Tybura is going to have the ability to really utilize some of that wrestling, utilize some of that cage pushing. And I think that the cardio is really going to tick down for Denise. I think the output's going to tick down for him. And that's where you're going to start to see some takedown opportunities here for him. So I do like Tybura in this spot here. I think that the path of his strength really lines up with the weakness of Denise. And at this price at around minus 130, minus 135, I think it's a good number.
Great stuff. Real quick, Kyle, before I let you go, give yourself a little self-promotion. Let everybody know where they can find you over on WagerTalk and, of course, on social media.
Yes, so you can find me at Kyle Anthony UFC on Twitter, and every Wednesday I drop a video. I talk about 4 or 5 plays that are on the upcoming card. We've really been running hot here. We only have 4 events left in 2024, and we're definitely going to finish the year strong. We've already got profit in the bag, and we're in a good spot to head into 2025.
Love it. WT.buzz/KA is Kyle's homepage there on wagertalk.com. 71 units in MMA. Number 1 ROI in all sports 2024. 12-1 on those 5% plays. And of course, he has another one going today, but I'm going to give you guys a promo code. Ticket15 gets you $15 off that 5% play today. Thank you for Kyle for coming on. We've got Jones wins inside 3 rounds minus 145 and Tybura minus 135. All right. Adam Trigger is going to be joining us up here next. So if you guys have a college basketball question, make sure you drop it in the chat. We're going to give him about 10 minutes, and then we're going to let Marco take us all the way to kickoff with your college football questions. I know it's been a busy show today, so just kind of had to get everybody in so that you guys are happy there at home. Adam Trigger, is he on? As our producers have him live. We got to move Trig. Shocker. We're going to get Trig. We're going to put Trig on the shot clock here. He's got a few minutes to touch on a couple things. We have a question from Twitter as well. We're going to get to Trig. Real quick, give yourself a little self-promotion. Let everybody know what they can find from you over at WagerTalk, and then we'll get into some of these college basketball questions.
Yeah, so right now I've got 2 long-term packages up. If you like hockey, we put one up with college basketball and hockey with me and Andrew McKinnis. So that I'm not sure how long that's up, but that's a great deal if college hoop and hockey are your 2 things. I've got a college basketball special, my picks for the rest of the season. And then as far as today is concerned, I've got 2 college basketball plays locked in. I'm going to talk about one of them on the show. And I have a college football play that goes, I think, at like 3 or 4 o'clock. 5 of the last 6 weeks I've won in college football, and hopefully we'll do it again this week.
Love to hear that from you. All right, we have a question on Twitter regarding William and Mary in their game today. I have no idea who the hell they're playing, so you're now just going to get the floor.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this viewer probably watched our college basketball show yesterday. Myself and Steve Merrill. Of course, Steve Merrill, William and Mary insider, huge fan of the team, lives right down there. We kind of talked about the William and Mary game yesterday. And so I said I would kind of circle back on them on this show. So last night, the game went exactly as we kind of expected. It absolutely soared over the number. William and Mary, brand new head coach, comes down from Cornell, Brian Earl, and they're playing extremely breakneck paced, fast, like Cornell used to play. They really lost a great game last night, 85-86. And what I said on the show yesterday, the College Hoop Show, was 3 games in 3 days is going to be very, very difficult for this team. And so now it's like you got to have to pick what spot is better. For me, like I'm not confident enough in NC Central, though I do lean their way at 5 or 5.5. So you could take your shot tonight, but tomorrow William and Mary plays at noon. So that would be the 3rd game in 3 days for a team that does nothing but press. I think, I don't think anyone has played other than Keller Boothby. I don't think anyone has averaged more than 20 minutes per game on this team. So Kelly, you have to think that a team that plays the way William and Mary plays is going to be gassed at some point playing 3 games in 3 days. I think tonight's number is a little bit inflated, so lean NC Central there, but the better spot might be tomorrow at noon against Georgia Southern, who I think is a little bit better of a team than NC Central. So that's kind of my general thoughts. And you know what? I don't know that the odds makers can even move the number enough with the pace that William & Mary is playing at this year as opposed to last year. They just seem like overs till for further notice at this point.
All right, about 5 more minutes here with Trig. If you guys have a question regarding today's college basketball slate, we'll get to it. But Trig's wearing a Siena shirt, so tell me why you like Siena over Albany today.
Yeah, so I'll be headed home in a little bit here. I'll be at this game tonight. This is the Albany Cup in Albany, New York. The what's notable about this, Kelly, is it's at Albany this year. So this game is typically downtown Albany at the MVP Arena. 10, 11,000 people in attendance, but Albany gets a home game this year. So they have a brand new on-campus venue, the Broadview Center, newly renovated, 4,000 people. It's going to easily be sold out. It's already sold out. But I know Siena fans bought up a good number of these tickets. So your typical Albany home game gets like 2,000, maybe 2,500. So I expect the crowd to be 50-50 here. I'm not giving Albany the bump for home court like it seems the odds makers are. I make this number closer to a pick. Albany has 2 key players, Amari Marshall and Aaron Reddish, who have both been battling injuries. Neither played on Wednesday against Dartmouth. Reddish has a back injury. Marshall has a thumb injury. I know they've both practiced this week. I know they're both going to give it a go tonight. But again, I don't think either are 100%. Siena is very interesting in the respect that they have now won and covered, Kelly, all 3 of their games as an underdog. So 3 upset wins to start the season. Typically, that's something that I know you would like to fade. I typically look to fade that, but this number's way off in my opinion. I think Albany's getting way too much credit for being the quote-unquote home team here. I make the number Siena plus 1.5, maybe more like plus 1. So again, I just think that I don't think the market is fully caught up. Siena was a 4-22 team last year, the worst team that they have ever had in the history of the school. These kids are playing so hard for new coach Jerry McNamara. Yes, that Jerry McNamara from Syracuse. And again, I just don't think the market has fully caught up. So I think Siena's got one more upset win in them, and then maybe it'll be time to fade them. But I like Siena tonight, plus 5. Just way too many points.
All right, right now you guys can get Adam's entire basketball season for $395. That's about $2.50 per day. He's up almost 50 units at WagerTalk in the last couple of years that he has been at WagerTalk.com, wt.buzz/AT. All right, real quick. We've got Xavier, 7.5-point favorite at Wake Forest. B Daddy wants to know your thoughts, Trig.
Yeah, so this one tips off soon. I believe this is a noon tip-off. I'm not overly high on Wake in the context of the ACC this year, but I think this number is quite inflated at this point. I think there's probably points in this game. So, Wake, the reason I don't think Wake is going to contend in the ACC, like a lot of people think they are, is their defense just isn't there yet, in my opinion. Offensively, they're fantastic. Xavier's got big guards with size. I think they're going to struggle to defend that. I don't have the total in front of me right now, Kel, but whatever it is, it's probably going over. I see a ton of points in this game. It's kind of how I think Wake Forest games are going to play out when they struggle to guard the opposition, and I think they struggle to guard Xavier. So I have no interest in the spread being where it is because I really don't want to punch back at the market with Wake Forest. So the only thing I could look at here would be the over. That's just my thoughts on that one.
All right, thank you, Adam Trigger, at Adam Trigger WT on your social channels. If you guys want to give him a follow, I have a feeling he's going to be joining us a lot this college basketball season here on Last Call. We're going to be doing the Saturday show once college football ends. And, maybe I'll join in on the college basketball show. We'll see how that ends up panning out for us. Thank you to Adam for hanging out with us here today. Let's bring in Marco D'Angelo to take us home. Marco, we've got about 20 or so minutes until kickoff. So if these guys have questions for you, we're going to give them answers. They stop asking questions, I'm going to go get in some last minute bets that we got from some of the guys early on. All right, right out of the gate, Stephen Utterback wants to know, Marco, do you ever bet team totals? If you do, have you thought about Northwestern over 9.5 against Ohio State? Here's a game, Marco, we haven't talked about all all week, really. For me, we do bet on it and we talk about these marquee games and then we do all these other shows. This game's kind of flown under the radar. Ohio State, they're looking towards next week maybe against Indiana.
Yeah, that's the problem with this game, Kelly, is what kind of effort are we going to get out of Ohio State? If they're focused, forget about it. Northwestern's not getting the 10 points in this game. This is an offense that struggles against average defenses, and against a focused Ohio State team, they've got no shot. But that's the big question in this particular game. This is a classic look-ahead game, and I actually, had some people reach out to me on the sandwich shop video that I do and question, hey, why not look at Northwestern this week? Because it just worries me that they can score enough points in this game. Ohio State already had that close scare, if you remember, earlier this year before the Penn State game, when they almost let Nebraska beat them. So I don't think they're going to have that happen again.
All right, right now, 7 days, $99. You're going to get $20 off Marco's package with coupon code MD20. WT.buzz/MD is Marco's homepage. He's been 15-3 with his 5% plays since February. Marco, do you know how many days, like probably during the week, probably 3 or 4 days during the week, I get a text, what's Marco's 5% play? What's Marco's 5% play? I'm like, come on. You guys kill me. Could you imagine if they weren't friends with me, how much more sales you would have? Don't tell Johnny. Titan CT wants to know, is he the only one who likes Pittsburgh? Marco, your hometown team today. We heard Art DiCesare. Let me double check my notes. I'm sorry. We heard VR say that it was a lot of split action on this game between Clemson and Pitt. Pittsburgh, I bet against last week. If you remember, I was on Virginia. I said, I don't know how they pick up the pieces from this SMU loss. Now, back-to-back losses for this Pittsburgh team. This does seem like quite a few points.
It is a lot of points, Kelly, but I've been with you the last 2 weeks. I had SMU 2 weeks ago against Pitt, and I had Virginia last week against Pitt. Pitt was a team that was very lucky to be where they're at. And a lot of people could say both Pittsburgh teams, pro and college, have been lucky to be where they're at this year. But I think the sharp play in this game is to look at the under. Clemson has everything in front of them. They control their own destiny, and I think Clemson takes care of business here. Do I want to lay the points? Not so sure, but I think you're going to see an under in this game. And one of the reasons is we know Clemson can play defense, but Pitt's got some problems. Eli Holstein is banged up. He is questionable game time decision. I think he will play, but how effective is he going to be? And the thing about Pitt this year, they've been an over team because they got the second fastest pace of all the teams in college football. They came hell-bent this year that they were going to get the play clock go quickly. They wanted to have a lot of plays. Well, that's fine and dandy until you wear out your defense, because if your offense is going quickly, it means your defense is going to be back out on the field quickly as well. And as we've seen, they have wore down. But that's not Clemson's MO. Clemson will get the lead in this game, and then I think they'll run the football down Pitt's throat in the second half. The only way I can look at this one is the under in this one.
All right, if you guys have been watching Bet On It, you know Marco has been absolutely on fire, which is why he gets to join us on Last Call. Currently the number one handicapper in college football over there on the leaderboard. Marco, 40-10, 30-10, 40-10. I don't have my notes in front of me. Tell everybody how red hot you are.
That's college and pro, Kelly. That's actually all sports. We are on a run. You mentioned the 5% streak that runs back to February, but it's not just the big plays. And I know everybody loves betting the big plays. They want to go and grab somebody's big play, and they should, because we put a 5% on it. We really like those games. But Kelly, I am killing it with everything. We're on a 15-3 run since November 4th with all plays. That includes 1.5 and 2% plays. We're 30-10 over our last 40 plays. This is, I've been doing this for 46 years. Next to whenever I had that 25-game winning streak, that one baseball season, this is the run of my lifetime with us. We're seeing things so well right now. And I just think it's, because at WagerTalk, we do all of these shows. We do radio shows across the country. I get to talk to a lot of pro athletes, and ask them questions. You know, when we do bet on it, I always tell you these theories that I have about situational stuff. Because of the radio stuff that I get to do, I get to actually ask pro athletes, hey, I've always thought this. Can you tell me, am I right or am I wrong with things in situations about returning home off of road trips, look ahead games, trap games? And it's great whenever I get to hear confirmation from players that actually played the game. And I know we have this argument and me and you laugh. I'm not popular with the math guys with the way I handicap, but you know what?
Marco's not popular with math guys. He's popular with the guys who like to make money over at WagerTalk. All right, Winning wants to know, thank you, Marco, for your birthday package. Do you like any dogs today? Speaking of likes, if you guys keep hitting that like button, I'm going to make Marco share one of his top plays from said package today. We've got about 14 minutes till kick. Tell me one of your favorite, I took away the barking dog segment from you guys because you and Joe like the Chihuahuas there on Bet On, and I said I'm going to start bringing in double-digit dogs. My double-digit dog wasn't really a double-digit dog. It was Nebraska, now down to 7. But any other dogs that would have been on your radar for this week to get the outright win?
Yeah, Kelly, there is one dog, but you're going to, give me grief about it because it's not a big dog. I know you like those big ones, but this one's a 3.5-point dog. And Kelly, one of the angles that we like to talk about is the Dream Crusher game. And there's a team that I feel is in that Dream Crusher status today, and that's LSU. Last week, taking their 3rd loss, that takes them out of any contention to be in the national playoff picture. And coming into this season, that was the goal for LSU. Now they're going to face a Florida team. And I know, Kelly, you and I have been on this Florida team a couple times. They've been ugly for us in some of them, but they've gotten the money also. This is a team that can play defense. And if we got a team that's downtrodden in LSU, which I think they will be, I think Florida is a live dog. I'm grabbing them plus the 3.5 here. And as you like to say, Kelly, we can go ahead and sprinkle a little on the money line. It's not as big of a money line as you would prefer to have, but you know what? They all add up when they cash.
Yeah, between every single site, we have a ton of people watching live, guys. If you can get 100 likes here before noon, I'm going to get Marco to give you guys one of his top plays. But here's one, Marco, that I am on. Hugh Janis wants to know your thoughts on Kansas versus BYU.
Yeah, Kansas versus BYU. This is, when I did the show yesterday, I, was joking with John Murray about this particular game. And oh, by the way, Kelly, were your ears burning yesterday? Because you were quite the topic in that segment. But this is a game I said, what's going on here? I mean, the odds makers are begging you to take BYU in this game. You've got a ranked team, Kelly, versus an unranked team. And as you know, you like to make fun of Kansas a lot, because, you went to Kansas State. They are 3-6 for the year. This line is under a field goal. Ranked versus unranked, undefeated BYU, and they're laying less than a field goal. That should tell you something. And you say trap game. This BYU team was in a war last Saturday night. I was on Utah. Utah led for 59 minutes and 55 seconds until BYU kicked the game-winning field goal to win by 1. And Kelly, I know, if you probably didn't stay up for, oh no, you were on the West Coast last week. You could actually stay up for that game. That game was one of the last games on the schedule, and it was a physical game. I don't know how BYU comes off that rivalry game, physical game, all the pressure of the undefeated season. Remember, these teams that are undefeated this late in the season and are a team like BYU, that the only way they're going to get in to the playoff picture is they got to run the table. So that's even more added pressure for them. And you're talking about millions of dollars for their school if they get into the playoff this year, the top 12 teams. I don't see it happening. I think Kansas goes into BYU tonight and pulls an upset.
Marco and I are head-to-head on that one, except he probably didn't really play that one in real life. But let's talk. Rob Christensen wants to know any take on Nebraska USC. Guys, we need about 50 more likes. You got 10 minutes to give me 50 more likes, and Marco's going to give us one of his top-rated plays today on the college football card. I took 9 with the Cornhuskers. Marco, as I mentioned, they were my barking dog this week, all the way down to 7 right now on the WagerTalk odds screen. Is it too late to jump on Nebraska? Is it now time to be buying USC?
Well, I'm not going to run and buy USC. And this is one of those ones where, we talk about all the time, and we talk about value. You want to get it. And that line changed because there was a question mark on the Nebraska quarterback, whether or not he was going to go or not. Obviously, you've seen the line continue to come down. He is a go for this game. And I've joked, with all the guys, and Kelly, you love to have your closing line value trophy when you get the better number. I said, you know what? I would rather have a winning ticket on a bad number than a losing ticket on a good number any day. There's only one way that I could play this particular game, but it's 7. I can't do it. I would like to have that hook there. Now, if you do take the 7, you're not going to lose the play. You would push the play. But here's the spot that I've said over and over again, and you know the drill, Kelly. Who's the better defensive team in this game? It is Nebraska. And you're getting points. I love taking the better defense, getting points. And Nebraska is in a spot here. They need to win one of the remaining 3 games to become bowl eligible. This team has not been to a bowl game since 2016. They were in this exact same situation last year. They were 5-3 with 4 games to go. They proceeded to lose their last 4 games, all by 1-score games. What'd they do? Last game that they played 2 weeks ago when they were 5-3, they lost. They've had 2 weeks, though, to prepare for this game. I think you're going to see a great effort out of Nebraska. And as far as Southern Cal goes, they can still make a bowl game if they win 2 of these 3 games. But listen, do you really want to finish the season? You go to USC. When you sign up to go to USC, you're talking about you want to be playing for a national championship, or you want to be at least playing for the conference championship. You don't want to be going to a crappy bowl at the end of the season. I don't see the motivation from USC in this game, especially with, did you look at who they play the remaining 2 games? Their arch rival, UCLA. They'll be up for that. And then, the last game of the season. If you want to have your Super Bowl, how about playing Notre Dame when you have a chance to knock Notre Dame out of the playoff picture? That's when you'll see the Trojans show up. It's Nebraska or pass for me.
All right, let's go Cornhuskers. I'd love for them to get the outright underdog win there in the Coliseum, a place that's been pretty good to us with the barking dogs, Marco. All right, our audience is the best. They're happy that you are 30-10 in your last 40 plays. And I promised them if they all hit that like button, Marco, you are going to share a premium play from your card. So I'm going to let you have the floor and take us home.
All right, Kelly. Well, the play that I'm using, you might like this play. Give it out. It is actually a 4% play on my card today. So kudos to you guys for smashing that like button and getting this free one. It is Kelly's Kansas State Wildcats. This is a spot for them. Arizona State, they're bowl eligible now. I don't see them coming into this game being, anything to play for. They want to win and beat Kansas State, but they're going to be facing a very angry bunch of Wildcats here. They went into their bye week off of an absolute ugly performance against Houston. And Kelly, we use that phrase over and over again, that when a team plays a big game, a lot of times there is a hangover in the next game. And Kansas State was coming off 2 games ago playing their arch rival, Kansas, a game in which I think they went into that a little fat and sassy and took a little brother for granted, and they almost got upset. They escaped with the win. I think it was a 2-point win. They rallied late to get that game, and then they went to Houston the following week and played what I feel was the worst game of the season. You're going to see a good effort from Kansas State here, and they still control their own destiny. They still can get back into that Big 12 championship game. I like them to roll big at home here. I'm laying the wood with Kansas State. Look for them to win by double digits tonight.
That puts a smile on my face because Kansas State needs a bounce back in a big way. And also, I laid 8 with the Wildcats. All right, we still have a few minutes left, Marco, so I'm just going to keep it going for the people that have been hanging out with us. We've got thousands watching on all sorts of different platforms. So if you guys have a question for Marco, ooh, interesting. Well, it's Arkansas that plays Texas, unless, of course, they're playing in basketball, and I somehow missed that. I have been very far behind in basketball. Arkansas is a 13-point underdog at Texas. Is that what you meant, David? Because we're going to go with that. Talk to me about Texas, Arkansas. I know our friend Matt Grissom said he was taking Arkansas in the first half and then taking Texas full game. Do you think that is a good factor? Because, boy, have the Hogs cost themselves dearly in the second half this year.
Yeah, Arkansas is a team that's been an enigma for a lot of people, and they rise up and play tough to the competition, and then in a game you think they should win, they're nowhere to be found. It's Arkansas, a pass for me, and that one's actually going to be kicking off in a couple minutes, but we've lost a little bit of value on that game. We've seen that line come down during the course of the week, and at 14 or 14 and a half, yeah, now we're under that key number, 13 and a half. It's still, I lean to Arkansas, but I think you lost some of the value in that particular game.
All right. Any more questions? Here we go. Jeff Schroeder, is there any reason why you should not take Penn State minus 28.5 against Purdue, who just got absolutely worked last weekend versus Ohio State? And Art DiCesare came on in this program and said, everybody's betting Purdue. And what ended up happening?
Yeah. Kelly, Purdue is just pure trash this season. There's no rhyme or reason. You can't sugarcoat it. But Penn State, James Franklin's MO, he likes to beat up on the little sisters of the poor or the poor teams in his conference. And when he gets to the big games, we know what his record has been against Michigan and Ohio State. It has not been good. I can't lay 28.5 with Penn State, but I sure as heck am not betting Penn State or betting Purdue. This is a game I am completely void of today.
All right, me too. No desire to get involved there. One last question before kickoff. When the producer puts it on the screen, I'm going to get you to answer it. Maybe there is no more. I apologize, guys. I don't have my Slack open. I know there was a ton of comments today. There was a ton of questions. I appreciate you guys giving Marco all the love. See, Marco, all you have to do is join the last call. There we go. There's one. Ed also wants to know about UAB Memphis. Marco, do you have any notes on this game whatsoever?
I lean to Memphis in this game. I don't have my notes in front of me on it. Memphis's offense, I don't see how UAB can stop them in this team. They're a scoring machine. You want to look at either laying the points with Memphis or check out. I know somebody asked about some team totals earlier. I would only be looking at the over on the team total in that one. And once again, last night you saw the over machine that is known as North Texas got another over last night. It was 72.5. Would that game end up 75 points? Some teams just are what they are.
Oh, now they want to score, Marco. Not last weekend with 4 trips to the red zone and 1 field goal when I needed them to win my underdog parlay. All right, Marco. Well, thank you for joining us right up until the wire. You are the best right now, #1 handicapper for college football. Actually, across a couple of sports, Marco's been red hot. 3-10 in his last 40 plays. Been crushing those 5%.
30-10.
He has a 5%. 30-10 over his last 40. 30-10 over his last. Can you guys tell I'm ready for breakfast? I got to go. We got kickoff. We adore you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us here each and every Saturday. We're going to see you guys back here tomorrow. We've got John Murray from the Westgate Superbook. We've got VR, and then Ronald Kabang is going to take us home with the NFL. I hope you guys have a profitable Sunday. Again, make sure you guys head over to WagerTalk.com if you need a little assistance on this beautiful Saturday.